Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you some books that we're reading this September. Some of these are sort of early autumn themed, so we've got some apple books, some books on seeds and trees, and other books are just books that we're reading and enjoying at the moment, so I thought I would share them with you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you head over to my Rooted membership, which is hosted on Patreon, for tons of bonuses. I teach a workshop every month there all about slow living, herbalism, preserving the seasons and that kind of thing, so do check that out. Okay, so jumping straight into it, the very first book I've got is Children of the Forest by Elsa Beskow. This is a beautiful, huge book. I love the size of this, but it's a beautiful book all about these little children. They're like gnomes, gnome elves, and they live in this forest, and it's all about all the different types of creatures they meet. It's got such a lovely sort of gentle autumnal theme to it, and it's a lovely, lovely story. Not too long, a really good like little bedtime story, and one that we all adore. A new book to us, but one that I've just started reading the boys, is Count the Stars by Raewyn Casely and Gabrielle Evans. And this is actually a book all about physics and maths. And it has this little girl who is at school and she's got a real affinity with numbers. So through the book, she's sort of sharing concepts like rectangles, cylinders, measuring, geometry, and she also goes and does some stargazing. And at the back there's all these sort of mathematical terms. So this is quite a fun book actually, because neither of my children are very mathematically minded. I wonder why, neither am I. So this one's quite interesting because it's sharing a concept which is unfamiliar to me in a lot of ways. I'm definitely rusty in that area. But also for my children as they get older and are learning more of these concepts, I thought this book is quite clever. It's published by Walker, and yeah, I think it's a really sweet book, and I really like the illustrations. They're really gentle and yeah, really, really sweet. So apologies if you can hear tons of bells jingling, but my youngest has just strapped himself up with little bells on his wrists and he is so excited, and I've tried to get him to be quiet, but I think he's just going to carry on going, so apologies for that. The next book I wanted to show you is And the Good Brown Earth by Kathy Henderson. This is a really sweet seasonal book about a little boy and his grandmother and this beautiful vegetable plot and how it changes through the seasons. There's some beautiful illustrations in this and lovely poetic language. If you don't own this one, I highly recommend it. By Kathy Henderson, And the Good Brown Earth, a really beautiful one for all year round, but actually quite lovely for this time of year where there's so much to harvest out in the garden or at farmers markets, and we're starting to harvest all the vegetables here at the farm and compost and things like that. So this is always my favourite book for September. I thought this was a good time of year to pull out Goodbye Summer, Hello Autumn by Ken Pack. I think most of you have probably seen inside these books. They've been very popular over the years. It's a short little story or poem about the changing seasons. It starts off in summer and gradually turns into autumn. So a lovely one to really help children understand the transition and what exactly seasons are. I always think Jamboree is a lovely one for late summer when there's loads of berries on the trees and fruits. This is by Bruce Deegan. And this is a really silly book. It's a classic, but it's got this fun bear and little boy, and it's got this fun rhyming poem, and the illustrations are really what makes this so great. Really, really silly to read, and I have a berry obsessed child, so this goes down a treat. Very classic is Blueberries for Sale by Robert McCloskey. Again, this is one I tend to pull out in September, although obviously this could work all year round or all summer for sure, but for some reason I just particularly like this in late summer or early autumn. I just think it's really sweet, and it's about a little boy called Sal, or maybe it's a little girl. Oh, it's a girl. I always thought it was a boy. A little girl called Sal, and she goes off picking blueberries, but ends up being followed by a bear, but all is good at the end, and she brings her blueberries back to her mummy. And the illustrations are in black and white in this, but it's a real classic, really lovely to read and really captivating for children. Another berry book is Peter in Blueberry Land. This is another beautiful Elsa Beskow book in this gorgeous large format, which I highly recommend. You can get these books in a smaller format, and I actually have one to show you. There's the smaller one and there's the larger one. I much prefer the larger one, so if you have a choice, try and invest in the large ones. They're just, the detail in the pictures is so lovely, you may as well have them in a bigger size, I think, at least. So again, this is a lovely sort of magical tale of a little boy who's shrunk down into this magical world of elves or gnomes. There's lots of berry collecting in this one, in this beautiful sort of Swedish setting. And yeah, really beautiful for this time of year and one of our favourites. The final berry book I have to show you is really, really special. And this is Betty and the Mysterious Visitor by Anne Twist, illustrated by the incredible Emily Sutton, who I'm a huge fan of. This is our all-time favourite book right now. And as you can see, the illustrations are magical. And it's all about a little girl who goes to her grandmother's house, and they have an unwanted visitor in the form of a badger who threatens to dig up their garden, but the little girl makes a scary scarecrow and the badger runs off and all is good, and they carry on making lovely jam. The illustrations in this are completely amazing. They are so detailed, they are so rich in colour and detail and expression. I just cannot recommend this enough. If you are starting to think about Christmas or birthdays and gifts and things like that, this should definitely be on your list. This is stunning. My boys think this is amazing, and I can't recommend it enough. It is absolutely glorious. Even for an adult who loves Emily Sutton's work, would adore this. So this is definitely my pick of the bunch. To put this book in this video as well, it's Two Wheels by David Gibb and Brigida Magro. And this is about a little boy who is learning to ride a bike, and his family are all bike crazy, and eventually he learns to take off his training wheels and can sort of ride with the family, basically. There we go. And I just thought this one had a lovely, soft, gentle story. It's a subject matter that is something in most kids' lives. If they are learning to ride a bike, it's something they're really curious about, and the challenges and the trickiness of it. And also the colours in this are really autumnal and beautiful. And I just really enjoyed this book, so I thought this would be a good pick for this video. I wanted to include Sunday Fun Day, a nature activity for every weekend of the year. Now that a lot of kids are back at school, this book really comes into its own because it gives ideas for all year round, but at the weekends basically. So there's a summer section, but of course we're going into autumn now. So there's a beautiful autumn section. The illustrations are really lovely in this book. Again, they're very detailed, so there's lots of lovely things to see in the pictures. And there's everything from recipes to nature crafts, and yeah, I just think it's really sweet, and again would make a great gift, so I really like this. September is the perfect time of year to pull out The Apple Cake by Nika von Hitchton. This is a real classic, and we've had this for years, and it's all about this little old lady who is on the hunt for some apples, and she ends up making her beautiful apple cake at the end, and there's a recipe. It's a really gorgeous classic, very gentle to read, very Waldorfy, and of course you can make apple cake at the end, so a really fun book and one of our favourites. A book that I picked up last year and adored was Miss Maple's Seeds. So this is the story of a little old lady who is magical and lives in a tree, and her job is to look after all the different seeds. And I just thought this was a really charming, sweet tale, and it just brings seeds into life for children. I just thought it was really gorgeous. It reads beautifully, and it's just such a magical story. So if you are looking for a nice addition to an autumnal bookshelves, highly recommend this one. I think I've talked about this series quite a lot now at this point, but this is the Look What I Found series with Nosy Crow and National Trust. This is In the Woods, and these are lovely books. There's these gentle, simple stories of these children who are going to explore certain areas, in this case the woods, and it sort of gives you ideas of some of the things you might see, and these children are exploring things like bark, trees, leaves, nuts and seed cases, cones, snail shells, and then at the end there's always like a spread where you can see all the different things they've collected. I really like these books. I think they're really fun. And there's quite a few. There's what I found in the farm and what I found at the seaside so far, and they're all really, really good. There are loads of apples growing here at the farm, and as a result, I love apple books. This one is 10 Red Apples by Pat Hutchins, and this is a lovely little counting book actually. So it's got this sort of fun little song or rhyme all about counting down the different apples as the animals steal them from the farmer. And I love that these little animals and the farmer are toys, so they're like little wooden toys. It's really, really charming, and there's some more counting at the back. We've had this for a few years now, but it's still one that's very much in rotation in this house. Early autumn always makes me think of themes of abundance, harvests, farms, which is why I've chosen this book for this video, which is Before We Eat, From Farm to Table by Pat Brizon, illustrated by Mary Azarian. This is a really lovely book. I love the sort of community feel of this story, and the illustrations are just incredible. Hold on, I'll come a little bit closer so you can see better. It's a short little story, but it's lovely in showing where all the food comes from for children. And again, it has this lovely community element. And then there's a section on planting a garden with your children and making seed tape. Really, really lovely. And I've talked about Diane White's books a ton. I'm obsessed with her stuff. And this is Green on Green, absolutely exquisitely illustrated by Felicia Sala. And this one is a great seasonal book. It goes through all the different seasons and the different colours of each one until we get into autumn. Some incredible pictures in this book. Really, really magical, and of course we've got winter in here as well. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful poem. If you can hunt down any of Diane White's books, I highly recommend them. There's something incredibly timeless and magical about her work, and she is definitely one of my favourite writers, and the illustrators she teams up with are always outstanding. These are kind of like heirloom books. They are exquisite. So if you're on the fence about them, I would highly recommend investing in her work. They are just things of beauty. This book is a lovely new addition to our shelves. It's The Tree Book by Hannah Alice, published by Nosy Crow. This is a really fun book. It's got this sort of see-through mirror element. And this is a great book for children who are learning science and wanting some more details about trees and why they look certain ways and why they do certain things. So we go through things from flower and pollen, leaves and photosynthesis, fruits and seeds, mighty mini beasts, and they've got this really clever overlay that looks just so beautiful. So of course changing colours and leaf litter, underground roots, trees and barks, and then also trees in winter. A really great book, a beautiful, beautiful edition if you are a homeschooler or you love to do learning at home or co-schooling like I do. This book is surprisingly one of my kids' favourite books, and they actually fight over this. It's Corn by Gail Gibbons, and I always really enjoy Gail Gibbons' books. They're very interesting, factual non-fiction, and this one is going through the history of corn, how it's grown, who eats it, the different varieties, how to plant it, harvesting it, industrial farming, and how it's used as well. Really, really interesting. If you who have children going to school for the very first time, I've got a couple of recommendations for you. And these would make great books to read throughout September as your child gets settled into school. This is the classic. It's Starting School by Janet and Alan Alberg. This one is a real classic. It's a great story with tons of little detailed illustrations, and it follows these children through a school year. It's really diverse as well, which is great, and inclusive. And just look at those pictures, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. So we love this one. I also picked up a new book. I've actually picked up quite a few books about starting school because my youngest is actually has started school. But my favourite one actually was this one, Starting School by the 5-Minute Mum, Daisy Upton, who has some really great books on how to do sort of learning games with your children. We really enjoy those books. But I saw she'd come out with this one and I was really interested, so I purchased it, and actually it's been the best one for introducing the concept of school to my child. So this is all about how to meet your friends, why do you go to school, what you're going to wear, how you're going to get there, different types of school team, meeting teachers inside the school, everything from assembly line, what you're going to eat, how you go home, breakfast clubs, what does the week look like, special days, the school year as a kind of map. And then there's also a little bit of games and alphabet learning and counting in this as well. This is really great for that curious 4-year-old who really wants to know about school, why they're going, all the different things they might do there. Or if you have a child that's slightly anxious about school and is finding school challenging, they might find this really reassuring because it gives them lots and lots of information so they can be kind of ahead of the game, so to speak. So I do really like this. So if you have a child who perhaps is going to be starting school next year, or you have a little one that's already started or going to preschool, or anything like that, this might be useful to you. I really liked it. So last but not least is a beautiful Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler book, The Scarecrow's Wedding. I have read this so many times, I know it off by heart at this point, but this is the most perfect book to read in late summer, early autumn. It is gorgeous. It's about Betty O'Barley and Harry O'Hay, and they're going to get married and they go off on a little journey to find all the different things that they're going to need for their wedding. It's got a beautiful rhyme to it, as all of Julia Donaldson's books have. It's really funny, and it's just gorgeous to read. I absolutely love this. It's definitely one of my favourite Julia Donaldson books. It's just absolutely charming. And again, if you're looking for gifts, I highly recommend all of Julia Donaldson's work. Her books are gorgeous. And that is it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I kind of had to rush through it a bit because I've got the kids next door and I can hear them, but obviously I don't want to leave them for too long. But yes, hopefully this gives you some ideas for books for this kind of in-between time of year. I kind of envision this being our main books for September, and then I've got some Halloween books for October, and I've also got our main bulk of autumn books as well. I have got some new books for autumn which I'll probably put in a separate video, and hopefully I'll get around to filming that. I do actually have one more book which I'm going to include because both my children are obsessed with it, but disclaimer, this is not my favourite book, but I'm going to go get it. This book is Space Pirate Bears by Alistair Chisholm, illustrated by Jez Tuya. And this was actually sent to us. It's not something I would have purchased, I'm going to say it as it is. However, this is the book I have read every single night. I usually read my kids 3 books a night, but this is always one of them. And I thought I'd just show it to you because, let's be real, like, I need to show you what my kids are really enjoying as well. So while they love these books, these are tried and tested books, and we are reading these each night, this is also in rotation, so I'm going to show it to you. It's about this little family, and Jamie and Abby, and they come up with a story about these space pirate bears. There's lots of silly illustrations. There's Dr. Drab and his boron beam, and lots of aliens. And there's also some conflict resolution between the children as they kind of like fight about the story. And it's just one of those stories that has really captured my boys' imaginations, and they are wild for this. They are obsessed with space pirate bears. They think this is the best thing since sliced bread. So I'm going to show this as well because I think it's really important to give a good array of books, and perhaps you have a child who loves this kind of like high action, silly, colourful, cartoony kind of book, in which case this is great because this is the kind of thing that both my boys have adored, and they can actually they remember the storyline, so they read it with me, and it's been really great for them. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful September, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!